Today we're going to look at a couple of examples for solving equations called the square root method. So let's say we're given an equation to solve and it looks like x squared equals 36. So I want to use something called the square root method. Okay, so the square root method means that in order to solve for x here, because it's x squared, I have to take the square root. And if I'm going to do it to this side, I also have to put a square root on this side. So the first step here is to put a square root on both sides. You do need a plus or minus sign on the right hand side. Okay. So now here, on my left hand side, the square root of x squared is just x, and that equals plus or minus the square root of 36. And we know the square root of 36 is just 6. Okay, so this plus or minus sign really means you have two answers, and those answers are -6 and +6. So the reason we have to have the plus or minus sign on both sides, on the right hand side, is because you're going to end up with two different answers. So just for my own benefit, clarification, -6 times -6 is -6 squared, and that is +36. Also, 6 times 6, when they're both positive, is also equal to 36. So you're accounting for both of your answers. Okay, so don't forget about the plus or minus sign. So that one was pretty basic. We didn't have anything to do but the square root method. Let's look at one where there's some more steps involved. So let's say I'm giving the equation 1/3 h plus 4 squared equals 16. Now, it doesn't look like this first problem that we did where we just had x squared. Here my variable is h, and I have it kind of trapped inside these two parentheses, but everything is squared. Now normally, most people want to expand the parentheses and then FOIL it out from here, taking this times this and getting 1/9 h squared and so on. But really you're just giving yourself more work. You don't have to use that method now because we have the square root method. This set of parentheses here, the entire thing is squared. So I can use my square root method to just get rid of my exponent instead of FOILing everything out. This is too much work. So let's do that. Let's put a square root on both sides. Got 1/3 h plus 4 squared equals plus or minus, don't forget, the square root of 16. Okay. So here my radical cancels out my exponent, and I'm just left with 1/3 h plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 16. So this is good. I don't have my variable inside a set of parentheses anymore. I don't have anything squared anymore. Please remember that this is two different answers here. But let's go ahead and keep simplifying further. Okay. 1/3 h plus 4 equals plus or minus, I know the square root of 16. The square root of 16 is 4. So that's plus or minus 4 now. And now I can continue to solve by moving everything away from h. Okay, which means I have to subtract 4 from both sides. And when I do that, this 4 right here, I'm going to place in front of my plus or minus signs. And I do that so I don't lose this negative sign. Okay, because remember, you're going to have two different answers over here. So now I'm looking at 1/3 h equals negative 4 plus or minus 4. Okay. Let's go ahead and break this up into two different solutions. That way we don't have to deal with the positive and the negative sign right here. So 1/3 h equals negative 4 minus 4 and negative 4 plus 4. So here I've got 1/3 h equals negative 8, and I've got 1/3 h equals 0. Now I can continue to solve for h on both of these equations. Here I want to multiply 3 on both sides. If I do that, these 3's cancel and I'm just left with h equals negative 8 times 3, which is negative 24. And I'm going to do the same thing over here, multiply 3 on both sides. These 3's cancel out, and I'm left with h equals 0 times 3 is just 0. Okay? And now we're done.